COVID-19 has seen demand for Microsoft Teams dramatically increase around the world. And I think one thing that's for sure is the way we all think about how employees should work and learn will never be the same. This session will give you a 30-minute introduction to the features available in Microsoft Teams and hopefully help you on your way. We could have done this session as a Teams live event, which is Microsoft's preferred platform for one-to-many, but I thought a regular Teams meeting would be better, as this is what many of you will be using. As we have a lot of content to whistle through, we won't be monitoring any questions. And I ask you to kindly keep yourselves on mute throughout. You will receive a follow-up email with our contact details, so you can direct any questions to us. That'll come out after this. So thank you once again for joining. I'm now going to hand over to Dave.
Thanks, Jay. Can you hear me? Everybody hear me okay? Just do reply, Jay.
Yeah, most people are on mute, but yeah, you're
yeah, we can hear you.
Loud and clear. Okay.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. As Jay said, I'm Dave. I've been associated with 365 IT for many years. I am a teacher, have been for the last 20 years, but I must be honest, this stuff is new to me as well. I'm just seeing loads and loads of people down at the bottom having joined this. The functionality of this is just unbelievable. I mean, there is no other word to describe it. It's Microsoft's fastest growing app. And I read an article the other day that there's something like 44 million daily users that are currently utilizing it. And thank heavens for this, because we'd really be in a pickle if the world couldn't communicate, bearing in mind the situation that we are in the moment. So I'm going to try and take you through Teams. The whole goal of this is to spend 30 minutes just really sort of introducing the Teams.
He is now joining.
Really introducing the Teams interface. So to do that, I'm going to share out my desktop very shortly. Just before I start, please be aware that Teams is changing all the time. It's growing, it's evolving, there's new features coming here, there, and everywhere. It's actually quite tricky to keep up to speed with all the different changes. With regards to this sort of meeting coming in, the one that I'm really looking forward to is a hands raised. It's not quite here at the moment, all right, but you'll see that they will pop up on a regular basis. So that's the goal, all right? I don't know what you guys know about Teams. Obviously, Teams has been thrust upon us, whether we like it or not. It's just one of those things that you're going to have to get onto. It can be a little bit tricky to get your head around. Essentially, Microsoft wants Teams to be the central hub, all right? In other words, it will be the first thing that you start up in the morning. And it's not quite there yet, because it's not really accessing email at the moment, but it's got a lot of really, really good points. And I must be honest, I am a big fan. So having said that, let me see if I can share out this desktop here. So see if I can remember to get the right one open here. So can you all see something that resembles Teams, hopefully? If I just click on that one, I'm going to start over here on the call screen, if that thing would go away, because there's some quite useful options that are available to you. All right, there. So let me just bring that back. One of the things that you're going to have to get used to Teams is a lot of stuff really only becomes visible when you move your cursor into a particular location. You can see that my call screen has disappeared, but if I move it up a little bit, all right, then you can see that it becomes alive to me. So you can see over on the left-hand side of the call screen, you can see the timings. I can switch my video on, I can mute, I can unmute myself, all right? You can see here that I can stop sharing, all right, my screen. And if you'll see ellipses all over the place in Teams, and there's quite a lot of really quite important settings that we can configure in here, right? Just pull out a couple of them.
Alvinda Sohel
is now exiting.
Somebody's shared out, Jay. Guys, people who are attending, you must please not share out your screen. Let me just try that again, see if I can get back into that. Come back over here. There we go. So we're pretty much back to normal. So, all right, if I look at more actions, you can get into your device settings. You can show your meeting details. What I find really useful, all right, because I actually use this in a teaching scenario as well. is the ability to be able to enter full screen. All right, so that makes it a little bit simpler on the eye, certainly very useful for me when I'm demonstrating stuff like in this sort of scenario over here. All right, if you want to try that on your machines, you can do so. The blurring background is relatively new. That's quite handy, all right, so that if you don't want people to be distracted by things that you've got in the background, obviously, of your microphone, quite handy. You can switch that on, you can switch that off. Live captions doesn't appear to be working at the moment, and I think this is just really, there are certain elements of Teams that have been trimmed down at the moment because of the increased demand. Basically, a lot of the world is jumping onto this, all right? But I have tested it, it works really, really well. So if you've got people, all right, who may have hearing problems, you can switch on your live captions, and the conversion of voice to text is really, really impressive. All right, and then you've got a couple of other various bits and bobs, but this is one of the areas that sometimes is not dwelt upon. Certainly the full screen option I find really, really useful. All right, the blurring background's quite useful as well. We'll have to see when live captions comes back on again. All right, you can get into a keypad if you want.
Yeah, right. Is now exiting.
All right, somebody's just left. So bear those in mind. All right, you can get into conversations. All right, so your meeting will have a conversation. I'm not going to jump into too many of these things because time is of the essence. You can get into people, so you'll be able to mute people. Jay has set this meeting up. So, all right, he has the ability to be able to make me a presenter, all right, because the default options over there, all right, simply wouldn't allow for that. All right, so that is sort of starting off. What I'm going to do with this is I'm just going to work around the team interface, try and keep it logical. I'll go from one section to another. All right, so I'm just going to get into the actual Teams interface over here. So you should now be seeing something that resembles Teams a little bit a little bit closer. I'm going to start up here in the top right-hand corner, all right, and just go through a couple of different options. One, you have to sign in, all right? So that normally, all right, doesn't pose too many problems, but if I hit this little drop-down box over here, just so that you're aware of it, you may be associated, all right, with teams in multiple organizations. Now, I have to be quite careful here not to click on this one. I have two subscriptions. I've got an education subscription and a training subscription, all right? And I've been added as a guest to my Springbok training. The main point here is you can flip backwards and forwards, all right? And you can join the different areas, all right? All the different subscriptions that you may be associated with. On that note, all right, is fairly important to be able to understand the different ways that you can access Teams. What I'm using now is the Teams app. All right, so that would be what you would download and install. Well, you can do that. It's actually downloaded and installed now when you install Office 365 Pro Plus or Office 365 Business as part of your subscription. So the app is the primary mechanism, all right, of communicating or utilizing Teams. You can also access Teams through your browser. All right, so that would be an example of what your browser would look like. So if you do find yourself stuck in a situation where you're on a machine, all right, that doesn't have the Teams app installed, right, then you can go into your browser as well. Something that I discovered that looks really, really interesting, which is a third option, is if you're using the new Edge Chromium, all right, you will see that there is an app section in here where you can actually install, all right, Teams as an app. And what that does is it pops pretty much what appears to, or what looks like a shortcut, all right, to Teams. And that is incredibly useful, all right, if you want to run multiple team instances simultaneously. All right, by default, you can only run one instance of the Teams app at any given point in time. Hopefully this option, all right, let me just come back to my Teams again over here. Hopefully this option of having to change or see the teams that are available to you, all right, will change and you'll be able to see all the different teams that are available to you. But bear that in mind. And the other thing that needs to be borne in mention is the apps, the mobile apps that are available for your iPhones or for Androids are really, really good. I can follow this entire conversation. I can join this. a good example of using the Teams mobile app is I actually did a conference call quite a while ago with Lorraine. I was sat in St. Lucia. The only thing that I had was my phone, all right, and the hotel's wireless network. No problem. Video worked. Conversation was absolutely superb. All right, and it really is an ideal way of staying in touch. So those are your initial options. Most of the demo that I'm going to be doing in here is going to be focused in on the Teams app. All right, and we will sort of work our way around from that. If you click on your little icon over here, I can see that I'm in a call. Presence is really, really useful in all of this. All right, I can see here, all right, that the system has changed me automatically into, all right, as being my present status as being in a meeting. You can set your status messages. You can change these if you want. This is where you would go if you wanted to set your status to be busy or do not disturb, etc., etc. You can set your status message. All right, you can also get into your various saved options. So if you're saving chat messages or conversations or posts, all right, you'll see in a second that you will be able to go in there and you'll be able to save specific options. And that's where you can go in to go back at a later stage to be able to view stuff possibly, all right, when you've got a little bit of time to do. Pretty much everything in Teams is persistent, all right, so it means that the stuff that you see today is still going to be there tomorrow, etc., etc. You've got a couple of settings, different options. This is where you can set your dark mode. You can auto start, etc., etc. I'm not going to insult your intelligence by going through each and every one of those. All right. You can set people that can interrupt you. If your status is set, do not disturb. You've got all your different notifications that can be configured in here. You can check your devices. You can go in there and you can check your calls. All right, and so on and so on. So these are the initial options. Obviously, you can minimize the window, you can reduce the window, and you can close the whole thing down. So at the top right-hand corner, these are some of the initial things that you need to be aware of. And as I say, the confusing one at the moment is, unfortunately or unfortunately, if you are associated with teams and different subscriptions, right, and you want to be able to go and participate in these teams, you're going to have to manually change from one subscription to another. Hopefully all that made sense. All right, I'm going to come over here now and just work my way down through the various options that are available to you in the console. Activity, all right, as the name might suggest. All right, if I can just get into that. All right, this is where Teams comes and talks to you. I've tried to create some examples, all right, so that you can see the sort of thing that will appear in here. Voicemail may not be present for you, all right? I'll explain that when I get into calls in a second. But you can see here, all right, I can go and display things like voicemail. One of the things that really impressed me about voicemail is it will transcribe it for you. So it's actually telling me what the contents of that voicemail are or is, and then I can come back and I can play that if I want to. I've got a missed call here, some more voicemail, when people reply to your messages and so on and so on. Right, all of that information in here. Here was a call, all right, from Jay that came in, missed call. So the activity is really, all right, Teams' way of just telling you something's going on. All right, so you'll be able to go in there and you'll be able to go and pick it up and you can go and action it or you can do whatever you want. So not really too much there. Most of that is self-explanatory. Come and have a look at chat. Chat to me is a very utilized part, all right, of Teams. There's a lot of people talking about Teams replacing the way that we communicate. And I've got to be honest with you, I agree wholeheartedly, all right, with those different options. Right. Chat is a bit of functionality that personally I think is way, way better, all right, than trying to communicate via people with people via email. All right. As I say, everything in Teams is persistent. All right. You can see over here, I've taken a chat message from Jay. All right. And I've pinned it. And this is where now here, if you just watch very carefully, this is where, all right, the Teams interface can get a little bit confusing because additional options become available to you depending on the position of your cursor. You can see if I move my cursor up over here, I get an ellipsis button. So you can mark these as unread, you can unpin it, you can add to favorite contacts, you can mute these contents, all right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All right, this one over here is interesting. This is me communicating with a bot. All right, there are numerous bots that are available to you in there. All right, and there you can see I'm currently using the who is. So it's not just human beings that you'll be able to communicate with us. You'll be able to communicate with a system. All right, and there's quite a lot of additional bots. I haven't spent a huge amount of time on them. All right, but if you wanted to get information on somebody in your organization, or who their manager is, who they work with, the sort of things that they are interested in, that can be quite a useful option as well. For a new chat, you just click on this little button over here. You can see that you've got a new chat option over there. All right, chat can be done one-to-one, all right, or chat can be done to a group. So if I type a name in here, namely my wife who's in my organization, I can start a one-to-one chat relationship with her. If I hit down this little create over on the right-hand side, you can also chat to a group. I've already got an example of a group somewhere down in here. All right, so that would be you chatting, all right, to multiple people. So very, very useful, all right, for projects or departments. And if you wanted to send out a message as a manager, all right, and you can go and communicate with as many people as you want. What I find quite useful as well, all right, is the ability to be able to take that and escalate it into a call. All right, there's only so much typing that I can live with. All right, so if you are finding that you're doing an awful lot of typing and you just would rather pick up the phone and call somebody, all right, then you can establish a call here. All right, you can establish a video call over here. And if you need to, you can go in all right, and do your screen sharing.
Morning, gorgeous.
Morning. Down the bottom over here, you can see here, all right, so if you're wanting some additional formatting options, you've got formatting options over here. What's quite useful as well, although I wouldn't necessarily recommend sharing thousands of files, but if you needed to attach a file in a chat message, you can do so. You've got all your little fun stuff, smileys, emojis, and stickers, all right, et cetera, and you can also go and send praise messages, and you can see that there's additional apps that could be popped into that as well. So chat really, please guys, don't misunderestimate it. It's going to take a bit of education at business level, all right, but the more you can get people talking to one another, all right, utilizing chat as opposed to emails, all right, I genuinely think, all right, that you will have a better structure going forward with regards to communication. Underneath chat is Teams, and that's obviously the heart, all right, of Microsoft Teams, all right. So what is a team? A team is just a collection of people, all right. When you create a team, and it's important that you're aware of this, please don't try and create teams willy-nilly for all and sundry. There's quite a lot of things going on in the background when you create a team that relate to SharePoint and relate to Azure Active Directory. Just bear it in mind, you know, you can always get in touch at a later stage, but the moment you create a team, it's creating a dedicated SharePoint site, all right, and it's also creating an Office 365 group, which might not sound terribly worrying initially, but it has got the potential to grow if it's not being managed, or if you're not aware of it, into something that might be problematic in the future. Because you could find, right, that your data is spread out across lots of different areas, which might make it a little bit tricky to be able to go and find it one day. But that's essentially what a team is. And again, you can see that you've got a little ellipsis button. I have a team with 365 IT, all right, which clearly demonstrates that you can use Teams to join multiple organizations. 365 IT has got its own organization. I have my own organization. So because I do a lot of work with 365 IT, I have a team that has been set up with them, all right, and then the various people, all right, that I work with within 365 IT can be added into that team. All right, so you can extend your teams to outside organizations. You won't be able to do that by default. All right, you'll have to switch that setting on in the Teams administration. All right, within your Office 365 admin portal, there's a whole raft of different settings that can be configured that govern Teams. All right, and that would be a topic for another day. But you can see over here, I can come down, I can manage my team. All right, if I wanted to manage my team very quickly, All right, and I come down in here into my members and guests. There you can see that Jay and Lorraine and Trudy have all been added into that team. And then I can communicate with them on an ongoing basis. And as I say, I do find the chat option there. Often than not, I will phone, I can fire up a chat message, and then I can just sit. All right, because the other thing that you've got in all of these is read receipts now. So you've actually got the ability to be able to see whether your message has been seen. All right, and the other thing that is very useful in Teams that you don't get in email is the ability to be able to see whether somebody is actually available or not, whether they're away or whether they're online, all right, because you'll be able to pick up all that information, either in chat or in your Teams itself. So this is what a team looks like. You can hide teams. You can see that I've got my own Springbok Education team over here. You can hide your teams, all right, and then you can create teams for whatever you want. But as I say, just purely my personal recommendation, don't go mad. Don't be creating teams for all and sundry, purely because of the mechanics of what's going on in the background. And the other thing to bear in mind is that by default, a standard user account can create a team. So bear these things in mind. Teams contain channels, all right? So channels is basically your way of dividing up the team, all right, into different sections, all right? And you can do that for whatever you want. I've created a couple of different sort of demo teams here so that you can go in and you can see them. When you create a team, you will always get a general tab, all right? And this is where you can go in and there's loads of different things that you can do at channel level. Possibly the most important thing that I can advise you of at the moment with regards to channels is the channel controls the visibility of your posts and your files. So for example, all right, if I go into the general tab, you can see there's a whole bunch of different posts and conversations that have gone on there. If I go to a different channel, something completely different. And that you're going to have to get across to your end users. You've got to be focused on the correct area in order to be able to retrieve or see the data that you are interested in. Again, you've got a little ellipsis button over here. You can go and manage your channel. You can do a bunch of different things, all right? And you can configure the channel according to what your requirements are. So I'm going to go into this demo standard channel, all right, just to show you a couple of different things, all right? Namely, specifically referencing mentions. All right. Mentions are the ability, and this has been around for social computing or social media for quite a while, individual people. As far as Teams is concerned, you can mention specific people, all right, which would be this example over here. I have specifically mentioned Lorraine, all right. You can set a channel mention whereby everybody in the posting is. See over here that I've done a posting advertising what the channel is going to be for. And what's relatively new now is the ability, all right, to be able to set now tags. So you can see that I've created a tag here, and then what you do with that is you associate people with that tag. So if I had a channel that had 20 odd people in it, for example, and I only wanted to communicate with 10 of those people, then I can create a tag, and there you can see the results of a tag down over here. All right. So the channel really is, think of it along the lines of a folder. It's your way of being able to take a team and break it down into different components. When you're creating channels, which is a fairly simple option to be able to do, you can add a channel. There's two different types of channels that you can create. One would be a standard channel. I'm losing the ability to speak here. One would be a standard channel, all right, which would include all the members of the team. And again, over the last 3, 4, 5 months, they've now brought in this ability to be able to create a private channel. So if you've got a channel for a particular project, for example, and you wanted to create, a team for a particular project, and you wanted to create a particular channel and only include project managers, for example, then you could come down over here and you could create a private channel. I haven't done too much with that one, all right? The channels themselves can be further utilized, all right, by utilizing tabs. Up here, all right, hopefully you can see my cursor. You can see that I've got the demo standard channel, And then you've got different options that are available to you, posts, files, wiki. You can add or remove these as you wish. So what this gives you is gives you the ability to be able to add additional functionality for indirectly to a team. I've added an extra tab here, all right, which allows me effectively to bring OneNote into the channel. So again, for people like project managers, this is really, really ideal. You could create a notebook, all right, add it as a tab to the channel, all right, and then you would be able to go and do your notes. The interface is slightly different. They've actually stopped you editing for the time being because of the increased usage with COVID-19. All right, they stopped you from editing the notebook within the tab itself. All right, but you can always open that up. But you can see the sort of thing that you can do with that. Oh, didn't want to do that. Let's come back to that one over there. Let's go back into Teams. I knew I was going to click on something wrong at some point. Let's go back to Demo Standard. All right, and if I click this plus button, have a look at the additional functionality that you can add. The ones that I use OneNote quite a bit, PDF I use quite a bit. I'm just about to start utilizing forms. And the one that I like the best is this document library. So what you can do, all right, is you can add data, all right, to Teams if you want. But if you want to use SharePoint as a central repository to store your data, then you can add your document libraries that are included in your SharePoint sites directly to the channel, therefore the team, so people will be able to go in and pick up the data, right? And you're not going to be adding additional locations that would be available to it. All right, so lots and lots of different functionality. They work really, really well. And I would recommend that you go in there and you utilize that. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else that I want to cover, all right, with regards to Teams. So again, watch out for these ellipses. You can hide, you can rearrange your teams if you want to, just drag and drop. You can manage the team, you can add members, leave the teams, edit the teams, all right, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And again, you can see that as I move the cursor away from the channel, the ellipses disappears, all right, hit the ellipses, and then you've got additional options that are available to you to configure the channel itself. The tabs are really, really good. I use these in training environments all the time. SharePoint's very, very useful. OneNote's very, very useful. I'm sure you'll be able to pick up additional apps that are available to you, all right, and basically increase the functionality the team and the channel and the tabs all give you. All right, but as I say, ultimately at the end of the day, all right, what is a team? It's just a collection of people, all right, and you can create your teams as and how you wish, and you can use them to work a little bit better. And again, all right, whatever is available to you in your Teams and the Teams app is going to be available to you in the Teams in the Teams mobile apps, and I use that a lot. All right, so I'll start something on the Teams app, and then I'll go away and I'll continue working with it on the phone. All right, so that's Teams. Calendar is basically an integration with Outlook. You can get to your calendar options. You can see over here, all right, here's the team that we're currently in at the moment. Note to self, do not click again, otherwise I'll disconnect myself. You can go in here and you can schedule meetings. All right, so this would be an example of a regular meeting. All right, so you can do it in two ways. You can use Outlook, all right, if you're more comfortable with utilizing that, but it's a fairly simple process of being able to schedule a meeting directly within Teams itself. All right, and then if you want to, and again, a very big important note to self now, do not click on Meet now. If you wanted to schedule an impromptu meeting, all right, with somebody who for whatever particular reason, click on Meet now, and then what that will do is that will start a meeting, and then it will give you the option, all right, of going in and adding the various people, all right, that you may want to communicate with directly to the meeting, all right. And as I say, you've got the ability to be able to do all of this through Outlook as well, and it is again, well, at the moment, probably the greatest single usage, right, of Teams that is currently going on at the moment. Absolutely amazing what you can do with this product. And as I say, it's bailing the world's economy out at the moment, because think about it, when last did we 50, 60 people all get together How simple was it to be able to join? How simple was it for Jay to be able to set up the meeting? We're all communicating, all right, and we're all sharing this information. I really hope that we continue with this trend going forward. And we might be able to sort of save the planet a little bit more, although the airlines wouldn't want to hear me saying that, but such is life. So calendar, not really too much more that you can go in and you can view that. You've got a couple of different options over here. You can change from a working week to a full week, or if you just wanted to look at a particular day, you can do so. You can schedule your meetings and so on and so on. And you can move through your calendar options. If I want to go back, that can take me in that direction. If I want to go forward, you can go through and you can work with whatever direction you want. My calls is obviously Teams gives you the ability to be able to communicate with other people. My call setting is going to possibly look slightly different to most other people, all right, with regards to me having a dial pad. All right, so if you go back to your Teams and you look at your calls and you don't have a dial pad, that's not the end of the world. That means that you don't have an enterprise voice subscription. I stumbled across this purely by chance. It is really, really useful. I have an enterprise voice subscription with one license, and it costs me the princely sum of £12 a month. And that is why I have a dial pad in over here. All right, which basically allows me to turn either my mobile phone, excuse me, or my desktop PC into a telephone. So the difference here, all right, is that most people will be able to call other people computer to computer, whereas if you've got something like enterprise voice, then you can call whatever numbers you want. I could go in here. I'll also get my own dedicated number, all right, from Microsoft through Enterprise Voice, which I was allowed to choose and select. All right, but you can see over here, you've got all your different contacts. You can utilize that. So you can see that I'm calling additional people as opposed to just standard Teams users. I've got a speed dial option over here, and you can create groups and you can arrange this. And it really does make life a heck of a lot easier with regards to communicating people. And as I say, I can take it one step further because I've got enterprise voice and I can communicate with non-Teams options. I can communicate with direct telephone numbers. So those are all your calls. It'll give you a history. That's quite useful for redialing. I'm still trying to get hold of Barclays Bank at the moment, but such and such is life. All right. And what that does is it gives me the ability, combining enterprise voice, to be able to dial a number and just leave it ringing, and I can wander around, go make a cup of coffee, and I don't have to sit with a phone glued to my ear. So that's pretty much all your calls options. All right. What is a big plus, all right, is the ability to be able to get to all your files. You should theoretically, as long as the files are stored in the cloud, so that will be OneDrive or SharePoint data, all right, Teams will monitor what it is that you are utilizing. All right, so instead of me having to go in, if I've got a whole load of files over here, which you can see that I'm currently utilizing, all right, you can see over here, I don't really need to go anywhere else in order to be able to go and find them. All right, so what it does is it breaks that down into the files that are associated with Teams, all right, which would be those options over there. And incidentally, if I go back into the Teams options, let me just jump in here for a second, and I go into the training option, all right, you can share your files out directly through Teams. So a while back, all right, I needed to do some course outlines for 365 IT. How do I get those files to 365 IT? I just uploaded them into a channel. That's why we actually have a training channel. All right. And then again, obviously, anybody who's associated with a team will have the ability to be able to go in and work with those files. And you can work with those files directly. All right. So you can see there, I can open it up. You can open it up with Teams. You can open it up with a desktop app. Or if you want to, you could actually open it up directly within SharePoint. You can see that there's a SharePoint option over there. So this functionality basically to go to one place, all right, and be able to retrieve all your data, all your files that are important to you, and work with them directly from within that is incredibly useful. So as you can see now, we've got communication functionality, we've got collaboration functionality, we've got data storage functionality in here, we've got the ability to be able to communicate pretty much the only thing that's missing at the moment is the ability to be able to go and read your emails. And I'm sure that will only be a question of time, all right, before you go in, and you'll be able to go in and retrieve that sort of information. There's a whole range of different apps that are available to you. So this will give you an idea. This will grow exponentially. Microsoft's very clever in the way that they're working with us. They're working obviously with a lot of vendors and third-party suppliers, right, to supply apps that are Teams compatible, right? And anytime you've got apps that are available within Teams, then they become available to your team itself. All right, so you've got your team over there. Didn't want to click on that. I wanted to click on that one, and that becomes available to you in this little plus button over here. So you can see there's lots and lots and lots and lots of different selections, and you be the judge of what it is that you want to be able to utilize. I do find some of them very, very useful. I haven't even looked at half of these, all right, but this will grow going forward. So to sum up, you've got lots of different ways that you can access Teams. You can use the app. You can use the mobile apps, all right? You can create an app yourself. That's something that I'm starting to use a lot more, all right, because that gives me the ability to effectively have two instances open at the same time, allowing me to communicate with multiple organizations or subscriptions, all right? You've got Teams talking to you on a regular basis through the Activity tab. You've got your chat options that are available to you over here. Please use that or consider that, all right? Because what that has the potential to be able to do is dramatically reduce the amount of emails. I'm not a big fan of email at all. You send an email to somebody, you don't know whether it's been received, you don't know whether it's being, whether you're being ignored or whatever the particular scenario is. At least over here, I've got an idea of what that person that I want to communicate with is actually physically doing. The chat, very, very useful. All right, have a look at it, experiment with it, try and change the communication culture, maybe, all right, within your organization. I believe it does work better. You've got all your different teams. I think I've given you enough information to be able to go away and get teams created and get channels created. As I say, be aware, all right, that standard user accounts have the ability to be able to create a team. So if you go into your admin portals and you're seeing thousands of SharePoint sites, all right, then that's possibly the reason why. And the same would apply to Office 365 groups. The ability to be able to meet and set up conferences using your calendar options. Well, what we're doing right now is a classic example of that. All right, we've got 50, 60 people all communicating, all in different geographic locations. What more could you ask for? And as I say, I'm going to be going forward. I'm going to be looking to do a lot more training, all right, that is available through this, because it just makes sense. All right, why get in your car and drive to other sides in the countryside, or even get on planes and fly to other countries when you can do it all from the comfort of your own home? Communication through calls, I've gone through all of that. The ability to be able to work with all your files all in one place. It's a central hub, peoples. All right, that you can open up in the morning, and I don't know what sort of percentage of your daily work you'd be able to do, but I can certainly accomplish 85 to 90% of my work without leaving Teams at all. If I do leave my computer, everything that is available to me in Teams, I just move it onto my phone. Happy days. I hope you found that informative. That should be a better idea of what the Teams interface is all about. I've tried to do it in a sort of logical manner. And that was my options over there. So, Jay, I'm going to hand back to you for listening to, and I hope you found it useful.
Well, thank you very much, Dave, for cramming so much into such a short time. It was inevitable that we were going to overrun slightly, but it just goes to show how much Teams has to offer. It's far more than just an instant messaging platform. There's loads in there. Now, Koris 365 IT hold multiple Microsoft Gold accreditations. We can help you with Microsoft Teams deployments, support, training. Importantly, we can add enterprise voice to Microsoft Teams, which can replace your existing phone system, as Dave touched on there. We can also offer you a free 6-month trial for Microsoft Teams, which Microsoft have made available. As I mentioned earlier, you will receive a follow-up email of how to contact us, and we'll have details of the offer on there and who you need to be speaking to. But thanks once again for joining us. I hope you found it useful, and I look forward to speaking with you all soon. So thank you very much.
Cool, thank you.
See you later, guys. Take care. Stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.